It is a privilege and honor to present to you our first speaker, Deacon Jacob Hawkins.
Shalom, everyone. May be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Today, things seem to be getting a little scary if you listen to the news. You got shootings everywhere, you got disease epidemics, and it's a great blessing to be in the house of Yahweh because we have Yahweh's protection upon us. Yes, praise Yahweh. Yahweh is definitely here with us. So we'll be turning over to Hebrews chapter 13. I want to talk a little bit about this protection. In Hebrews chapter 13, in verse 5, it says, "Let your conduct be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have, for he has said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you." And remember, pastors brought out, we are persecuted, but not forsaken. We have Yahweh with us. In verse 6, "So we may boldly say, Yahweh is our helper, and we will not fear. What can man do to us?" This is what the attitude we should have because we have Yahweh's protection. When they had, just recently, the news, when they were bringing more advertisement for us, they had it on the news, they said the house of Yahweh is heavily guarded. We are. What better security system than Yahweh? We have Yahweh as our security. Praise Yahweh. What can man do to us? And we see this example for us in Acts. Turn over to Acts of chapter 4. Acts chapter 4. And this is when Kepha and Yachanan were arrested for preaching the message. And as we read through this, remember those words that we just read in Hebrew. What can man do to us? And let's start in verse 17. It says, "But in order..." No, actually I need to back up a little bit, but I'll just paraphrase it. They were saying, we need to stop them. We need to stop them from preaching the message. And that's what they're saying even in these days. We have to stop the house of Yahweh from teaching. So they arrested them. So they said, well, let's bring accusation against them. Let's threaten them. We have to do something to stop them. But it says here, "But in order that it may not spread farther among the people that message that they were preaching, let us sternly forbid them with threats, that from now on they speak to no man in this name." So they summoned them. They brought them into the courts and commanded them not to speak at all or teach in the name of Yeshua. But Kepha and Yachanan answered, and this is the example to us. It says, "Whether it is right in the sight of Yahweh to listen to you more than to Yahweh, judge for yourselves." Is it better that I listen to you or Yahweh? This is what they're talking to. This is what they're saying to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Who is it better to listen to, you or Yahweh? And definitely convicting them. "For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard." Then they threatened them still more. They brought more threats. They brought more accusations against them. But then let them go, finding no way to punish them. Now it says because of the people. But they had no way to punish them. Turn over to Daniel now. But that's a great example for us in Daniel chapter 3. It's a great example to us of the way we should be. We're gonna serve Yahweh. As for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh, regardless of whether you like it or not. Praise Yahweh. In Daniel chapter 3. Now this is when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were brought before the king. In verse 14, it said, "Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods, nor worship the golden image that I had set up? Now if you are prepared to fall down and worship the image which I have set up, at the time you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, all kinds of music," just to sum it up, and when you hear all these music, "then it will be well with you." Well, in the eyes of the king. It won't be well with you and Yahweh if we follow the gods. "But if you refuse to worship, you will be thrown in the midst of the burning fiery furnace in the same hour. And what God El is it that will deliver you out of my hands? Well, remember the words in Hebrew. What can man do to us? Unless Yahweh turns us over to them, they can do nothing. But it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, with all boldness here, if you notice how bold they are with this statement, there is no need for us to answer you cautiously in this matter. You can heat that furnace 7 times hotter. I don't care. We're going to worship Yahweh. This is what they were saying. It says, for if we are thrown in the burning fiery furnace, our Father whom we serve is able to deliver us. Same thing in these last days. Yahweh is able to deliver us. This is not the time that we need to be going out buying guns to protect ourselves. With all the gun ban laws that they're wanting to pass. We have Yahweh as our protection. Praise Yahweh. How easy it is to be outgunned. It's real easy. If the U.S. Army comes against us, we wouldn't have any opportunity. Verse 18. But if he will not, then may it also be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, Elohim, or worship the golden image which you have set up. And that's the example that's being said with us now. You can put us in prison. You can do whatever you want, but we're still going to serve Yahweh. A great example, the great Kahan Yedidiah. He is in prison right now, but he's still standing for Yahweh. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury. The form of his attitude changed against them. So he told them to heat it 7 times hotter. But the rest of the story. They were in there. The ropes were broken. And they come out of that and they were not affected at all by the fire. Yahweh had his protection upon those men. And Pastor has said just a few weeks ago, when it comes down to it, Yahweh is going to definitely show his force. Yahweh will protect us with pillars of smoke by day and pillars of fire by night. May Yahweh bless you in your understanding.